everyone, it's Nina, and today I thought we would do something a little bit different for my channel. I, like many other millennial women, am obsessed with fall time. It's probably a combination of just always loving Halloween decorations, loving colder weather, and the fact that my birthday is also the day after Halloween that just makes this season a very beloved time for me. So today I wanted to go through some ideas I have for activities I want to do this fall time to really soak up the season. And I have this list broken up into a couple different categories. So with that intro out of the way, let's get into the video. Starting off, the first category we have is crafty/creative ideas. And these are exactly like the title says, either doing some type of craft or involving making something. The first thing I have is making some fun fall coffee drinks or learning how to do latte art. I know building out an entire coffee bar setup in your home can seem a little excessive, but at the same time, considering the fact that one pumpkin spice latte from Starbucks is $7, and I can get a huge bottle of pumpkin spice syrup from Torani for $7 to $10 that will last me months, definitely makes it worth it in the end. I'm not really super heavy onto the latte art side of making coffees. In my experience, it's much more just kind of trying out new different flavors that come around for the season, and also combining different flavors and kind of making my own custom coffee drinks. I don't really drink coffee every single day. It's much more a fun little treat I will make for myself on the weekends, and it makes more sense to have those hot coffees in the fall and winter time as it gets colder out. My next activity is to make some type of fun fall flavored food. For me, I really heavily associate fall time with pumpkin muffins and pumpkin bread that my grandmother would always make, and I use her same recipe when I make these for myself now. And based on my experience where I live, the fall time is when it starts to get colder out, so there is more of a desire to be in the kitchen and working on a hot stove or a warm oven. And it just feels right to make food that also has a very cozy, warm vibe to it. Next activity I have is to make your own candle. Again, going along with that cozy fall vibe, as it gets colder out, it means it's more seasonally appropriate to burn candles. If you've ever had a pre-made scented candle and still have the vessel it came from, you can then buy soy wax and fragrance as a good way to reuse that container. I actually did this as one of my first fall reset activities in a video I posted recently if you want to check that out. I think it's a really great way to repurpose a lot of containers, especially ones that are a more unique shape that you wouldn't want to just put in recycling. The next activity I have is to DIY some fall/Halloween decor. This is something I actually don't do a ton of, but if you have a really specific item you want for your fall decor, or you're trying to dupe something from a really expensive store, there's probably a tutorial on YouTube or Pinterest for how to do that. Now let's talk about some more location-specific activities. The first one is going to your local library and checking out books regularly. This is honestly a year-round activity for me, but I feel like the fall obviously gets really heavily associated with the back-to-school season, which really brings out that academic, hungry for reading and learning energy in me. I feel like if you ever were waiting for a time to get a library card, now is that time. Actually, it's extra that right time because September is actually a library card sign-up month, so even more of an incentive to really immerse yourself in the season and take advantage of your local library. Next activity I have is to go thrifting. I feel like every time there is a major season change, this is the best time to go thrifting, because at least at the thrift store that I used to work at, the start of the season is when they would put out all of their saved inventory for that particular season. So if you're really looking to refresh your fall wardrobe, the start of the season is definitely the best time to go. Another place you can go is your local farmer's market / antique fair / local craft fair. I do love a good summer craft and antique fair, but as the weather gets colder out, I feel like the start of the season is really the peak time to be outside, breathing in that crisp air. The next location you can go is to spend more time at a coffee shop. And by this, I mean literally any coffee shop that isn't Starbucks, if you have that availability wherever you live. This goes along with what I had said before about fall drinks being heavily associated with the season. And I think it's a great time to check out a local coffee shop in your area that you've maybe never been to before. The next activity is to travel to a local haunted location in your area. This obviously does depend on where you live, although there's probably at least some local urban legend that you maybe heard of as a kid. But at least for me, since I'm already a person that likes learning about history, it's cool to also have that haunted element added in just learning about what other people's experiences are going to this historic place. At the same time though, I'm also a scaredy cat, so I'm not the person that's doing those overnight ghost tours or anything like that. but definitely an option if you are more of an adventurous type of person. The next one is to visit a museum, and this can literally be any type of museum, art, natural history, etc. Again, this goes back to that desire to be an academic that comes up around this type of year. And actually, if you have a library card like we mentioned before, a lot of libraries will actually give free or discounted museum passes if you talk to whoever your front desk librarian is before you go. Also, some museums will do certain days of the month at a reduced rate. Like, for example, the Philadelphia Museum of Art does pay whatever you wish for the first Sunday of the month. And both of these are a great option if you want to go to a museum, but you also want to save money. Okay, now let's move into kind of like a subcategory in the location-specific things. And these are specifically about being in nature. The first one of these is to go to a pumpkin patch / apple picking / corn maze. A lot of these often will be bundled together in the same location. Depending on where you live, again, this might not be super readily accessible to you. Or if you're from a very urban location, you might have to do a longer trip driving outside your city to find one. But I think they are really fun. I have a lot of fond memories going to this as a child, and I still like going to them now. I think they're really fun. Another possibly more easily accessible option is to just go to your local park as the leaves change color. Again, while the weather is still relatively nice, just going outside, being around nature, and enjoying that crisp fall air. And the last option for this category would be going hiking or visiting your local national park. This is definitely a good option if you don't live in an area where it gets cold in the fall time, so you can still enjoy nature even if there isn't that much of a visual change in the seasons. Okay, and the last category we're going to talk about is stuff that you can do at home. The first option I have here is for hosting a dinner party. I feel like this is a great later in the season activity. As it gets colder and no one wants to go out to a bar or a restaurant late at night when the weather is bad, it's much more cozy to have a nice meal at home at one of your friends' house. The next activity is to throw a Halloween party. I've hosted these in the past and I think they're really fun, particularly if you have a lot of friends that also are cool with dressing up. For my friend group, this is no problem, but I do think Halloween should continue to be a great opportunity for people that don't normally dress particularly alternative or outside the box to have that opportunity to dress more unconventional at least one day of the year. And the last activity I have is to watch a scary movie or just have a general fall movie night. For me, I'm pretty bad with most horror movies. I need my wife to watch them ahead of time to know when the scary parts are. So I'm not really good about watching scary movies completely blind. However, I feel like there are a lot of scary movies that we all grew up watching as a kid. Comment down below if you also were traumatized by the Goosebumps The Mask episode, because that episode did irrevocable damage to my psyche. Actually, a good recommendation for a scary movie to watch would be Good Ghouls Go Bad, which is actually based on a work of R.L. Stine's. This movie also traumatized me as a kid, but in hearing people talk about it now, it's got a lot more depth into it than you would expect from a traditional children's Halloween type movie. Definitely a movie on my kind of nostalgia rewatch for this year. And that is a list of all of the activities I'm hoping to do in this fall season. I'd love to hear in the comments down below if you have any additional activities you're hoping to do this fall and autumn time. If you guys enjoyed this video, consider liking, commenting, or subscribing if you aren't already. I mostly post booktube content here at least once a week on Saturdays, so I'd love to have you stick around if you're interested in that. And with that, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!